Welcome to another episode of Open for Discussion. I'm your boy, C. Maurice Ball, and y'all know what to do. When y'all see the thing scroll down the bottom, hit that subscribe button and be a part of my community and help us grow and spread the word. But look, today I am crazy excited about the young lady I am speaking to. She is a powerhouse in the media industry. She's been in the game for over 20 years. She's been changing lives through weight loss. She is a phenomenal mom. She is out here being excellent at what she does, and she's a phenomenal woman. And guess what? We get to talk to her. But before we do, y'all know what we do and how we do it. Kick that intro. Yes. Well. I am introducing to some and presenting to others, Miss Donna Elle. How are you doing today?
First of all, I'm honored. You said, hey, can you come on? Because I know you've had some amazing guests, and I love to be a part of those amazing guests. So thank you. I'm wonderful today. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm glad you said yes.
Why would I say yes?
I'm glad you said so. Let me give y'all some backstory of how this conversation happened. Mm-hmm. I seen her pop up in my For You page. It was one of her dancing videos, and she was in there busting a move, and I was like, oh, okay. And then it popped up again, so I liked it, and I started following, and I was like, I like how I like her energy. She seemed like a ball of fun. And I'm like, okay, let me see if she'd be able. So I Facebook stalked her. Y'all know how I do. I be social media stalking people, and so I sent her a couple of messages. She responded. She said yes, and then I interviewed a couple of people that y'all follow each other. I had a couple of her friends on here, or people that follow the TikTok friends, and so those interviews was well. And then she said yes, and I am saying, okay, let's get this party started. So here we are. This is going to be great. I just love her energy already. Like the smile and the bubbly. Y'all got to go check her out. And we'll get to her stuff later on in this conversation. But she is a ball of fun and energy, and she is powerful. So yeah. So where are you residing at?
I live in Tennessee. I am a Tennessee native. I am born and raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee. For those that don't know where Chattanooga is, I am 2 hours from Nashville, 2 hours from Birmingham, 2 hours from Huntsville, 2 hours, an hour and a half from Knoxville. I'm right in the cut. So that's where I am.
Yeah, you're not too far. You're not too far from us, actually.
Where are you?
We're in Southern Indiana.
Okay. Yeah, not too far. A couple of hours.
5 hours.
Yeah.
I took my son to a basketball camp that was at Tennessee. My homeboy owns a restaurant in Chattanooga. It's a hamburger restaurant, and then his wife owns she does tea. I have to get the name of it and send it to you, but they got some amazing food.
It ain't no business in here in the city that I don't know about, because I'll tell you what I do full time as well. So then you'll be like, oh, that's how she knows about all these places. So
you probably know my man Antonio.
I know Antonio. Of course I know Antonio, and he actually did a couple of marketing things for me. I knew you were talking about Tate. I knew that.
That's my guy.
Yeah, he's my guy.
I call him Tones.
Yeah,
I call him Tones. That's my guy. We go way, way, way back, like when he was a pup. But so born and raised in Chattanooga. Where do you fall at in your family lineage? Are you the oldest? Are you the youngest? Are you the middle child?
On both sides. On my mom's side, I'm the oldest, and me and my sister are 7 years apart. And on my dad's side, I'm the oldest. So I have a sister that she's no longer here with us, but we're a few years apart. So, and then I got brothers, and a little bit of everybody.
A little bit. So you're the oldest. So you said 7 years.
Yeah.
So you was the only child for like ever until you wasn't.
When I tell you I love my sister Leandria a lot, but I was the pretty much the grandbaby that everybody loved, and they still love all of my cousins. Let me give them a shout out too. But when my sister came in, I was like, "Where you come from?" I mean, it was just me. Like it was, and then she showed up, and then boom, and now I'm still the same protector of my sister that I was when we were. I was in 7th grade, and she was showing up to the school in kindergarten, so or 8th grade, whatever it was. Yeah.
That's awesome. So y'all have an amazing relationship. So I take it that you are an amazing big sister.
Yeah, I'm a big sister. We're both mama's girls in our own right. So we're super duper close to our mom. And so that's our connecting because our mom is, when I tell you, my mom is my best friend. And she is most importantly the inspiration from her children to her grandchildren. My mom has a relationship with every one of her grandkids, which is like, you know how sometimes you're like, I see grandmom, I know who she is, but she has a relationship. They all go and spend time with her. And so I'm trying to fight the time because my son get the time, my nephew get the time, my nieces get the time. So yeah, it's a big family affair. I'm close to family.
That is awesome. So how was your family dynamic growing up? Were you did you come out of a two-parent home? Were you where
No. So a little bit, and I don't mind telling my story publicly because it's actually in my book, Smoking Cookies. Shameless plug right there. It's on
No, I
Amazon.
wish I could have found your book. I would have ordered it, but I'll order it yeah.
Okay. So I appreciate that. But it's I had a dynamic of I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. And being in a home with my mom and my grandmother, when I tell you, I learned how to cook. And when you are happy, you eat. When you are sad, you eat. And regardless, I know how to throw down on red-eye gravy, country ham, homemade waffles, homemade biscuits. Like that was my dynamic in my family, right? And so my grandmother, Miss Irene, was one of my favorite people. And still, I think about her more now that I'm older because she paved the foundation for me to be in the places that I'm in. And I'm so grateful for her labor and her hard work, her and my mom. So yeah, that's how I was raised.
Okay, that's. So do you feel like as a young person when you were like the family dynamic, mom, grandmom? So I know you probably got old school parents. We probably around the same age. So I
Yeah.
know there was some things that you just didn't do or say or could do because of the
Uh, I still adhere to that same mentality when I'm around kids. Like when you walk in the house with folks, right? You gonna respect it. When you walk in the house with adults, you turn right back around because whatever is in the atmosphere, you're not supposed to be a part of that. You walk in.
absolutely
You look. I tell people in my job, I've talked about this as a sister. Before you greet me, the first thing you got to say is good morning. Because when you walk in somebody's house, we were told to speak to everybody. And when we wake up, you speak to everybody in the household. So that entire dynamic being raised by two amazing, strong Black women, my mom was a mom and the dad. I normally don't say that because, moms can't be dad, but my mom was a protector. And although that I was missing that dynamic, it made me search for other things. And we could talk about that a little later.
okay. So
Yeah,
so that you're absolutely right. You walk into the house, you cannot walk into the house and not speak to everybody in here.
right, right.
So my son homeboys be coming over. They know y'all come in. You speak to every adult that's in the house, or we gonna tell you to walk out and come back in.
It's just acknowledge me when you see me.
Yeah,
Because there's so many places as you know people of color in general, sometimes people don't acknowledge us when they see us. And
for sure.
so with me as a sister, especially when it comes to me with my son, that was one thing that I made sure. I don't care who it is, you're going to show people respect, but as well you deserve that respect too because you have so much knowledge to give. So you're going to make eye contact, you're going to smile, you're going to shake somebody's hand firmly. Those are the things I wanted to embed in him because it was embedded in me. And I love that those things were embedded, because now you don't expect anything less.
It's second nature.
Mm-hmm.
It is second nature. Some
Mm-hmm.
of it you learn by process, and some of it was beat into us, but it's all good. You know what I'm
Don't,
saying?
rem-
Like,
don't remind me of going to get the switch now. That's a whole different
don't
story.
nobody come on. You got to go get your own uh
Switch.
punishment off the tree, and don't come back with the wrong size one.
And wait a minute, we had apple trees. So
Ooh,
it was like I had to go around the apples, get clunked in the head before I came back in the house. And the switches, they were what they were. Let's just say
right,
we lived through it.
right. Proper means of discipline. That's what it
Right,
was.
right. We
Appropriate,
made it.
appropriate, time appropriate discipline, which would probably get somebody in trouble nowadays,
Yeah, yeah,
because of the nature of how we were raised.
yeah.
So growing up in Chattanooga, how was the dynamics like? How was middle school for you? Were you in a inclusive community? Were you one of many or one of few? Were you the only minority? What was that dynamic?
Well, let me say this. I'm born in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We are a, I'll say, maybe about 30% African American, between 23 and 30% African American. Maybe a few above the poverty level, just to share with you those numbers. I love my city, and I've been blessed to be able to connect with so many people. So I initially, when I first started out in elementary, I went to an all African American school. That's
Wow.
the area we were in. We were in the center of town. But then I'll never forget, my mom told me, she was like, "Hey, I want you to interview for this school." I think she didn't tell me, we just showed up. But you're going to interview to be a part of this new school that they're starting. And it was for the students that excelled really well in their schools. So we were handpicked, which is, looking back at it now, I don't even want to talk about that, but we were handpicked. And I went to a school that was arts and sciences based with a Paideia proposal. So it was like, and that is the curriculum that we went off of, was the Paideia curriculum. And so we were about 40% Black,
Wow.
60% different, right? And so what I loved about that was that growing up, I went there from fifth through 12th grade. And growing up in that school, I saw diversity like no other, because that's all I knew in school. I learned, one of the reasons why I got in media was because of two of my amazing teachers. One was a theater teacher, one was an English teacher. One looked like Oprah Winfrey to me, and the theater teacher would have me on stage performing. And that gave me my confidence that I was looking for, to be like the next Oprah. Then I realized I'm the best Donna. And so just having that opportunity at a young age, which with so much, we would have like stories to read or books to read before we, every Wednesday, and we had this class called seminar. And in seminar, we were, I hate to say it, forced to have conversations about the piece in which we read. And even though I couldn't stand it then, but now when I am ad-libbing on the radio, or if I'm asked to speak at a conference, or if I'm asked to speak, thankfully, like a podcast, I'm never afraid. I don't need questions. I don't worry about your question. Let's go. And that
Right.
gave me confidence for that. So I went to a very diverse school. And yeah.
That is that's amazing because when I hear Chattanooga, I'm thinking that it's probably like Indiana or Birmingham, where you would assume that there's a low minority count, and so
Oh,
finding
it is.
identity.
Yeah, the minority count is really tiny. Like it was 40%, at my school, 40%, people of color, 60% Caucasian, right? But in this city, we are the minorities. And at certain tables, I might be one at the table, or one of three at the table, or it's the same
Right.
people at the table, which are dynamic, but that's what the city's makeup is, and that's where I was born.
That is again, you when you talk about that dynamic coming out of school though, like having
Ooh.
that inclusiveness and that diversity, because you were able to form an identity without struggling with the identity of, or the pressure of being, trying to be culturally right to fit into a space that didn't allow you to fit in.
Let me tell you what is very interesting is that I went straight from being at a diverse school, and I went from a diverse school to a Black hip hop and R&B radio station. And at that time, I started actually on air when I was 13. I met, it's a program called Black Achievers Program,
Mhm.
and American students were a part of it. It was with the YMCA here, and we were able to meet the people in which we wanted to do our careers. Well, they didn't have theater or singing, but they had radio. And I was like, I'm gonna be the next radio. So I would do whatever I can to do radio or TV. So I meet two of my mentors, Dewana Young and Keith Landecker. And 13, I said I was interested, and they took me up under their wing. By the time I was 16, I was a teen reporter for my high school. By the time I was 19, I'm on air with a son. I got a child at this time, but I'm on air on radio full time. And I say that because with hip hop and R&B music, everyone loved hip hop and R&B. It didn't matter what color you were. So
Mhm.
I would see people from everywhere when I hosted shows, excited, hype, hyping me up, whatever. But when I finally got out of radio because of syndication, when I got out of radio full time, I'm back in it, but I was out of it full time at the time. And my heart was broken, but I had started applying for nonprofit and corporate positions. Then, then I realized I'm a sister.
Ah,
Then
yeah,
I saw a lot of discrimination. Then I was no longer Donna Elle. I don't know who she thinks she is, but she don't
right.
seem to go up the proper channels. And I've experienced where two of us applied for the same role. I have 20 plus years of, not only was I had radio and TV experience, I was an adjunct professor. I taught at our local high school. I had PR, and I was doing PR and advocacy for different organizations because I was a mama who was hustling all those years in radio and in TV because I had to take care of my son. But with that being said, I had all that experience, and somebody came in with 2 years of experience, and they said, "We're going to make her your boss." I was like, "What?
Yeah,
We want to hire you, but we want to make her your boss."
the
And,
dynamic. Yeah.
and that was the first time. I know people like, I can't believe she was like, I was like in my 30s. Like, I had seen it. I had experienced it being on TV with a general manager telling me I can't wear my hair natural. Now it's natural, but I couldn't wear it. Like, I experienced those things, lack of pay with places where I get less than, and people, I experienced that. But to blatantly say you are qualified, and
Mm.
yet, even though that you are qualified, you are underqualified.
That is a major adjustment.
It was.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a shell shock to your system not being able to experience it to such late in your career. But you said something that, and I just want to touch on that. So you end up getting pregnant in high school,
Uh-oh. I was pregnant my uh, freshman year of college.
freshman year of college. Okay.
Freshman year of college. I had to go back home.
Uh, I get it. Where'd you start off at? Where'd you start?
I actually was on the dorm here in the city, but
Okay.
having to make that call and say, mama, she's like, you coming home? I was like, shoot, I thought I was gonna be able to stay.
How difficult was it for you to navigate that being a mom, being in college, having to go back home? Was there any guilt or shame that you carried that kept you from
Ooh,
wanting to show your face?
shoot, you asking me questions that I hadn't thought about in years, but I feel it, right? And that's a good thing. I can say being a young mother and having to face my strong parents, because my parents was my mom and my grandmother, and to feel in that moment as if I failed you. I know you gave me more. You gave me more than you had yourself, and yet I got to come home. But one thing I can say about my mom and my grandmama, they never made me feel as though I was less than. It was more so, now let's, okay, this done happened. Let me say it like a sister. This done happened. Now let's figure out how to maneuver. And so
Uh-huh.
even though that I went on campus, I got this big belly. I'm still working, work, study. I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to do. When I tell you, people still rallied around me because, I just love people. So people were still there, but it was things that I wanted to do, like pledge a sorority at the time, still
Uh-huh.
a young person. Even though I loved radio, I wasn't necessarily ready to go to work at that time. But when you have that dynamic and you've created it, there's no such thing as failure and just sitting around in my mama's house. And so
Right.
I end up going to school. I end up dropping out of school
Okay.
purposely because I was like, I'm on radio now. I mean, look, I come back to this. That's how I'm feeling, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh, and then I went back to it because one of my best friends, which is a guy who was my morning co-host, he said, "You're gonna finish school." Then my grandmother said, "I want you to go back to school." And I went back and got my degree after years of being on radio. And being in radio was some of the best experiences of my life. But being able to leverage that I have a degree has been very important to me.
Mm. That's good that you had the support system.
Oh,
That's amazing when because as a young person, the you had all the stuff that you had to fight through making that call.
oh yeah. Oh,
Dialing because this is before you had a cell phone, so you probably dialed six of the numbers and then hung that thing up about 45 times before
I,
you pressed that seventh
I didn't
number.
even tell. I had my cousin tell my mama. That's how close you were to your cousins. They were best. Your cousins were your sisters, and I
Right,
had my
right.
cousins say that. And I remember, just to share it with you, we didn't say pregnant. We said she like that, Donna like that. We just didn't say that word. I don't. We just didn't. It just didn't go. That's not what you said. And having a support system then and having a support system, you heard me say a lot about what I experienced with diversity and didn't have all that. Having a great support system and advocates for me now in my job that I'm in full time and in community has gotten Donna to the place where she needs to be mentally and physically.
Well, that's amazing. So as a young mom, you
Mhm.
said 19,
19.
and then you went straight into grinding in the radio.
Yes, and when I tell you, my son Brandon is a hustler just like me. Like that kid is amazing because grinding in the radio, I was working radio full time at the time. That wasn't necessarily, it's not what I needed to make. And even if it was what I needed to make, I realized like I'm an entrepreneur by spirit.
Mm.
So I just started doing things on the side, like I was telling you, odds and ends, PR, marketing. I didn't even know I was doing marketing. People were like, I want to hire you, but I want to know, can you get this on the radio and on TV? I was like, you got to pay me. And so that became my job. So I had my own media company and I didn't realize it was like a full-time job. And then I love to do a lot of motivational speaking throughout the city because I realized the impact God had given me. Like, even to this day, is something when I speak, it's so natural. It's like I want people to experience what I've gone through. And I hope that they can look at me and say, you know what? Because of God and you, I can now become this.
That is the purpose of this podcast.
Good.
That is the reason that I do this podcast. I'm not really caring about the numbers and all that other stuff. They come but it's been able to hear stories and
Mhm.
connect people who on the other side of this microphone and on the other side of your camera and everything that you do that see you and they
Right.
see you where you are, but they don't see the journey. And somebody can hear something that comes from your life about your story and sit up there and say, you know what? She made it.
Right.
I can be encouraged by that. That is the whole reason why I started this podcast.
That's awesome. Because we all need that, because, we're seeing a lot of the finished products, right?
For sure.
We're seeing
For
the
sure.
finished products, but just even being a mom with my son, I did have a lot of struggles, but I can't go back and weigh in on a lot of those because I did have support. I did hustle to do what I needed to do for my son. My son is the reason why I breathe. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I got to do whatever I can. I want him to see I'm doing whatever I can. So when he is an adult, which he is now, he's 28. I can't believe that. But,
Wow.
yeah, but looking at him, the little things that I've taught him that I didn't think he would get, because when they're in your house, you're like, man, did
All
I
right,
do?
I'm about to choke you out.
Yeah, like what am I thinking? And on those first years after they finish high school, you're like, oh my gosh, is he gonna ever get it? And then my mom said, you got to give him time. I never forget her saying, you got to, we had patience and time with you. You got to give him time. And just seeing him now, how he protects me and my mom, how he protects his girlfriend, how he is a protector of our family, just things when he walks into a room with whether it's CEOs or janitors and he gives them the same respect and just smiling. Those are the fruits of my labor, which were the fruits of my grandmother's labor and my mom's labor. And, and my granddad's labor and my cousins and my uncles. That means a lot to me.
So having you have a lot of male cousins and
Yeah.
interaction. So he was able to be around positive males growing up, being
I
able
say
to.
I say 100% for sure. When my son, he's an athlete. So most athletes are always around positive males. But one thing I can say about my son as an athlete, he taught himself how to play ball. When I was on the one end teaching a workout class, he on the other end practicing and figuring it out. And I had great brothers in radio. Like I was on radio every day from the time I was like 13. And so one of my best friends is my old radio host, which is Eric Foster. So if he's listening, and he would take time and spend time with my son, Keith Landecker, who was our program director. His son was the same age. He would get my son. My best friend, Juan Hansford, he would get my son and take him to WWE. And so at the time, I was intentionally trying to do those things. But that doesn't mean at the time my son appreciated it. Because at one point in time, he said, why do you always keep doing this? I got it. And then when he became a teenager, I had to back away because he will start seeking what he needs. I can't force that on him. And
Right.
that was hard for me to learn as a mom. But when he finally called me out on it, I was like, ooh, but I was doing the best I could.
How did you feel when he called you out? Like,
my son has called me out 3 times specifically. I remember. One was at a basketball game and the coach was getting too loud and I was being the mama and jumped up and he said, Mama, sit down. That was one. Then it was another situation where he was like, let me figure it out. You figured out your own life. I don't even know if he remembers those. But when he said that, even though it stung, I was so proud because I said, God, thank you for showing him how to want to lead as a young man. Thank you for when I prayed and I questioned about his relationship with you. Thank you for you circling things back around. Thank you for instilling in him. And so it hurt and it stung. Like as a parent, we like, well, I realize that I'm no longer your mommy anymore.
right.
And it's okay.
Yes. I
Yeah.
have a 18-year-old about to be 19 and my wife is I mean, we were helicopter parents at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and but now I can see, give him that space, allow him to bump, even if it means he bumps his head,
Mm-hmm.
even if it means that I'm not going to let you fall off the cliff because it's just too much invested in you as a human. I'm not going to let you, but I am going to let you run into that wall a couple of times. so that you can learn, and you can learn God's grace, you can learn God's mercy, you can learn how God handles us and how he moves with us and how he doesn't hold the stuff over our heads and things like that. So I get it. As a parent, it's tough, especially as an only child.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when
Oh
you
yeah.
got multiple kids, you kind of could just be like,
Yeah.
okay, we can work on the
Right.
next 3 or 4
Look,
kids.
look, mama tired,
Right.
But when you have one, you are that helicopter parent, like you said.
For
But
sure.
what I had to realize, and I said it to my son, and I love saying it to a lot of parents to say, what I can't teach you, unfortunately, life is going to teach you. Unfortunately.
100%.
Life is going to teach you. Our parents tried to tell us we think we did better than what our kids are doing. But what I'm most concerned about is not everything that I see that my son is doing. I'm most concerned about what he's doing when he's away from me. And when those people come to me and say, I met your son, he was so pleasant. He's driven. Man, that Brandon is grown up. To me, that's more important because I am so proud of my son for him
Mhm.
being resilient, for him being he's have you ever met, and I know you know this, we talk about our old school uncles when they walk in a room, they can say something and we all frozen. My
Yeah.
son has that old school feel of a man's man. When you hear he doesn't talk much. He does sales, he's a great leader. But when he speaks, people get quiet because he barely speaks.
That's powerful.
And he's
That's
amazing.
powerful.
Yeah.
That is that's awesome. So now you work in radio. You're a single mom. You got a son. You got positive males around them.
Yeah.
Any of that time between there, was there any time that you got into a relationship that just didn't pan out?
Oh,
Um,
several.
oh, okay.
I mean, mama's still single and mama is okay with that now, which is so cool.
Uh
But
huh.
I mean, yeah, I've had relationships that I thought would, okay, this is marriage, and then it didn't pan out to be that. And then you look back and say, God, thank you. Thank you for your protection, not just your protection for me, but the protection from him. Because I'm still carrying stuff that I might put on him. I might
Right.
not have been ready. And so, yeah, I've had several relationships, but I've also had some wins in relationships. But I knew this is the person that I'm not necessarily supposed to be with. And I'm okay with
That's a perfect. That's a good place to be in. That's a good place to be in. So now we're you know traveled through life.
it. Mhm.
Where did you go to college?
So I ended up graduating from Covenant College, which is like right up the street. It's like you heard of Lookout Mountain of Tennessee?
Uh
You
huh.
hear you hear MLK, Martin Luther King say from the Lookout Mountain. That's where it's Lookout
Okay.
Mountain, Georgia, though, but that's where it is. It's right cusp in Tennessee. And so I ended up graduating from there because there was a program I could do, which was easier for me with my son, just being, working with that. And so going through my journey of being in radio all those years, but when syndication happened and I lost my job full time, we got replaced with a syndicated morning show, which I'm not going to say what. And so what happens then is that I remember calling my mom and say, oh my gosh, I lost my job. And I said, it's the only thing I knew. She said, that's not the only thing you know.
Mm.
And in that moment, I was thinking about, just radio. I didn't think about you doing PR, you doing motivational speaking, you doing marketing, you doing this. And so I did TV immediately right after, since I was on air with TV for about 8 years here in the city. Left TV, decided to teach at a high school, which big shouts out to the students there because I have some amazing students there. Did that for about 3 years. I was like, this isn't my calling. Like I knew that, right?
Mm.
And so I started doing marketing full time. And so I am in marketing full time, which I love. I promote our city. And a lot of people don't know that because they automatically they walk up, they see me. I'm Donna Elle, the radio personality, but I'm still on radio here in the city. But I don't think I could ever shake a media personality here because that's how they know me, and I'm proud of that. I love my people.
You've established a base,
Yeah,
and you've established yourself as one of the giants and titans in that area and
yeah.
what you do. And because of your personality and because you're so bubbly and you're so approachable,
Oh, thank
I know
you.
people feel like they just know you, like, hey, you my girl, like, like.
You know what? It took me a minute to get there too, because being you know, I can go back from stories of people like, oh, she got an attitude. And people don't realize, and I learned that even now, is that I didn't have the best attitude when I was starting out in my radio career. One, I was 100 pounds bigger. You
Mm,
asked about my family dynamic. My dad was not in my life, so I was searching for that father figure, that masculinity in guys. I was searching for that, right?
mhm,
And I was a single mother that was hustling. I'm in the clubs, I'm doing this, you know, I'm on radio, I'm doing all of this stuff, trying to move and shake. And when people would approach me, I wasn't the best Donna with the biggest smile, right? And that was because of insecurities that I had.
mm,
And I went to see one of my favorite people, which is Oprah. And I know Oprah has so many fans, right? But I felt like in that room that she didn't know me. And I know that sounds weird. They're like, how Oprah gonna know her? But just hear what I'm saying. And I talked to her twice. I was on her show, then I talked to her afterwards, and I just didn't feel like I was like, man, I don't feel the connection. But because I idolized her, and I still love Oprah. I'm a true Oprah fan. Let that be clear. And so I ended up coming back to the city, and I vowed, if anybody meets me, I want to give them a welcoming smile, and I want to make them feel as if we have a connection. I want to have a connection because I never know what I will need from them and what these people might need from me. And my
right.
smile might be all that they have. And so that's why I over smile, I over cheese. I want people to, when they watching my videos, when they hear my voice, when I'm enunciating on radio, I'm smiling, right? And so I want them to experience that. So that time with Oprah getting to know, like she might have had a day. This might be her personality. When I came back home, I vowed to make people feel like when you're in my presence, I see you. And that's
Mm.
how I feel. I think the neighbor's dog barking, but anyway.
But that's important. Like being approachable, being having that key gives you access to people's lives because people just feels like they can just talk to you about anything. You said a couple of things. I just want to kind of ask you a couple of questions on these two things. One, I want to ask you a question on how important do you believe having the male figure as a young lady is in as you were growing up, missing that dynamic, which probably caused you to seek it from other places. How
Mhm.
important do you think the affirmation and validation from a father is to a young female?
I say the affirmation for a father for young boys and young girls
For sure. Yeah.
is vitally important. You know, being able to hear, even now as an adult woman, I want to be around some masculinity. That's how we're naturally built. When we hear a male's voice, there's a different dynamic for me. I can't speak for every other woman, but for me, I needed that, you know, baby, I see you. You're gorgeous to me. I'm proud of you. You know, hearing that. Yes, my mom said it, and I thank God for it. It's not to omit anything that she's done, right? But being able to have a male in my life would have slowed me down and to me saw places that I was missing where my mom
Mhm.
might not have caught. I think that affirmation, because I love to see there is nothing sexier. I'm gonna say the word sexier when you're dating someone and they have a relationship with their children.
For sure.
That is so attractive to me. Somebody who wants to take the time to spend time with their daughter, spend time with their sons. Our children, they need to hear our voices, but male voices. It's something so special about that, being able to profess, being able to provide, being able to protect that voice. Provide doesn't mean necessarily I'm going to pay for everything. Provide means if you can't, I'm willing to do so. Donna, if your mama can't, your daddy has you. And it's something about that safe space, even as an adult woman,
Hmm.
that makes you feel like you can relax, like you can rest. You know,
That's a very important point. Like I tell my homeboys who have daughters that I'm like, if you don't give them lap time now, a cat like I used to be will when they get older.
yes, yes.
And because they're looking for something, they're looking for this, hey, that was a great job, hey, you look great, hey, that's pretty, hey, I like your hair, hey, all these little things that you miss out on growing up. And somebody like me who used that stuff to manipulate and move women into a certain place, I understand that, like, you better affirm and validate them as much as possible, because when I do show up,
Mhm.
they won't have to, they be like, hey, you ain't saying nothing that my daddy ain't saying.
Yeah, that's like one thing I can say even about my mom. Like my mom has taught me so much confidence, especially even as an adult now. Your compliment is just an added bonus. I already knew when I walked in the room how I felt because of the confidence she instilled in me. Right?
Uh-huh.
That's not saying I'm sort of like, oh, I know I'm all that. It's not saying that. Thank you for your added thing. But like you said, if a guy had said it, I wouldn't have been necessarily, yeah, my mama gave it, but it would be good if that dad was there, that male figure. And
Hmm.
a lot of people I know, they have male figures in the house and still, or female figures in the house that's still not what they needed.
For
But for
sure.
me, I think and I believe that affirmation would have put me in a different place.
There's a little term that I call it active but not present, or
Mm,
present and not active, meaning you're here but you're not active, so you
mhm,
don't really matter. Uh,
mhm.
that's some good stuff. Now, here's the other question: what was one of your most difficult things that you could share with a young lady who's out here, who's probably pregnant or just had a child, but still trying to press through and complete the degree, may not have all the support that you had, um, but still want to go out here and be successful? When you were in that space, what would you share with a young lady to say, hey, you can do
I,
this?
I would first say, look at me. The smile, the love I have for God, how He's protected me. I say it in every speech I do. Keep showing up, my sister.
Mm,
Show up in your confidence, show up in your gifts and what you're good at. Don't look next door to see what you got to compete with. Focus on what your gifts are and really hone in on those gifts. Because the same gift that you take with you, no matter where you go, is going to always go with you. Your gift is not a one-time thing that cuts off. I think about the gifts that God has given me. Me and my friend talked about this yesterday. God wanted me to use my voice to motivate and encourage, to use my voice and motivate and encourage on radio, to use my voice to motivate and encourage in an exercise class when I'm teaching, because I'm a certified instructor, to use my voice and motivate when I'm on a stage, to use my voice and motivate when I'm in the office with my colleagues. That is how I'm wired to do so. And if I'm talking to a young lady, don't worry about all the debris that's going to come your way. Focus on exactly what God has called you to do and just sit back. Don't worry about the anxiety. Don't worry about the stress in the moment. Just be still. And He will show you exactly who He is and have you show up exactly with who you are.
preach, preacher.
Yeah.
We go ahead on it, but here.
Yeah.
So you also said something else that you kind of glazed over, but
Uh-oh.
I'm like, okay, and I know you got a story to this. You said that you were 100 pounds heavier,
Yeah. Yeah.
a whole human heavier than you are now.
Well, if you say it that way, I mean,
I mean, 100 pounds is that.
I mean, the pictures are out there. I started like my mom has always been into fitness, but when you in a black household, all the holidays, when you sad you eat, when you happy you eat, you eating. And especially with those insecurities and dealing with missing my dad, that gap, like wish he was around, all of those things got me to the place where food was very comforting for me. I
So it's
tell
emotional eating.
emotional eating. I tell
Okay.
people my book is called Smoking Cookies. I said some people drink alcohol, some people smoke cigarettes. I used to smoke a pack of cookies every night. Chips Ahoy, Oreos. That was the thing, that was the thing I leaned on. Like I'm killing cookies, and so I'm on air and at the top of my career, and like you said, my personality is energetic. Like I smile, I laugh, I'm fun, I dance, right? But I noticed it was one Labor Day, almost 19 years ago. I was sitting on the porch and all the family was out there playing kickball and doing all this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting on the porch waiting to go in to get my other rib. I mean, you know how you do. I'm just sitting there.
Right.
And then I told my aunt, and I said, I want to lose weight. Me and her were the two plus size people in the family, but we were pretty much talked about a lot. Ooh, we were the girls with the pretty face. Y'all got the prettiest face, but your body, ooh, you beautiful. They would never say nothing about the body. So this is a hint to everybody. It's the worst thing to somebody to walk up and say, "Oh, you got the prettiest face," and I'm like, okay, but I mean, what about the rest of me? And so I was talking to my aunt and I told her that I wanted to lose weight. And at this time, I didn't know she was diagnosed with colon cancer.
Uh,
And she said that if you were going to lose weight, I said, I'm going to start teaching workout classes to plus size women. She said, do me a favor. I want you to sit down with those women. And I want you to show them not only how to lose it, but how to keep it off.
that's
So
important.
yes, and so my aunt Deborah passed, and she was the reason why I started my weight loss journey. And I remember sitting around with those women. I'm talking about I'm going to the centers. I'm doing teaching plus size classes for women, size 14 and up, and I'm teaching these classes African American women. Then I started teaching at the Y, and I used to think, okay, eating is our thing. And what I realized is when I was teaching those classes, I had women that were size 2, size 6s, size 16s. And I realized that we had so many things that were in common. And that was life, that was pain, that was divorce, that was death, that was sickness, that was children, that was jobs. And I was like, I got to start Donna's Divas workout classes. And Diva stood for, still does, determined individuals valuing activity. And
Oh, I
so,
like that.
yes. And so I started teaching my class at D1 sports training. They're usually D1s in every city. I was in 5 other locations. I hired a girl in every location, and I don't have those anymore, but every location who had a weight loss story or either had been in media and had a weight loss story to teach those classes because I wanted them to be relatable. And I lost the weight before I started teaching. So I lost 25 pounds, wanted to make sure I kept it off, 25 more pounds, make sure I kept it off because everybody can lose it. But keeping it off for 18 years almost has been a sheer blessing. But it ain't easy because every now and then a sister want to smoke a cookie.
You want to smoke right?
She
So
wanna
that journey, that weight loss journey, at when you decided to move in that direction, what internally, because as you shedded the weight, were you shedding other things internally as well, the insecurity things and some things that was attached to that weight when you first lost that first 25 pounds?
when
How
somebody
good did you feel about yourself?
when I tell you when somebody tell you no, like when I think it was probably like a bad breakup, right? It started out with that and it didn't work out. I'm like, I'm gonna show you. Now I never forget, y'all. This is a funny story. I remember I was at a club and seeing something. It was like my first time. I ain't never told this story publicly, but it was like my first time working out, and I did legs. And you know, if you first do legs, you go out that night. I think I went out the next day and I'm on the stage. I fell clean down the steps because my legs just boom, they gave out, right? I like, because I was that sore. But it was something where I was like, I got to keep going back because I got to lose this weight. So I lose the weight and I gain it back. Because guess what? It was initially for somebody else. But then when I went back and said, I want to lose this weight, but I want to lose this weight not for another person. I want to move because I want to feel better. I want somebody to see me and say, okay, if Donna can do it, like, I think that's attainable. Like, I can do that. And people were cruel in radio. People would come up to me and just say anything. Oh, that go Donna Elle fat butt. I mean, like, it was mean.
Wow.
But I wasn't losing weight for them.
Right.
I was losing it for me. And when I finally started losing, it's so many guys still to this day that say, I mean, I like you when you was bigger, but this ain't for you. This is for me.
Right.
You know? And I did feel like I was shedding, not people, but shedding a lot of the insecurities that I bared all those years. Like I had a way to, even though we're not in control of our lives, but ultimately we are in control of how we take care of ourselves.
Sure.
And I felt like God said, you better than just this. You better than just sitting around. You better than just this. Let people see let people see you shine. And I think that's why I started doing what I do.
So in that journey, how important do you think being delivered from people was in this in that journey? Because if you're not held to anybody's perception of you, were you still kind of taking some of that stuff in and processing it, or were you just like, you know what, I don't care what they say, I'm going hard because their opinion don't matter?
I'll say this. As a human, people's opinions did matter. And they still sometimes do. We try to act like I don't care what nobody else thinks. It did. But eventually, because still to this day, like I'm like, okay, y'all, I want to lose about 20 pounds. I can't tell everybody what my goals are because everybody doesn't have the goals that are set for me. So I don't share those with everybody. If that's answering your question.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's like people to me are, I'm a people person. People to me are so valuable. I'm one of those people that I love people. Some people can do without, right? But I also know that they're not always great people. And even some of the closest people may not have the best intentions for you.
That is true.
But I'm going to still remain me, even through the process of meeting people that may or may not have the best intentions for me. And I will allow God to filter those out because life can go around full circle where those people might end up being, like my mama say, your best friend. And so as I remain the same with forgiveness and apologies and wisdom and gifts and show up as Donna and pray about who Donna is and own mistakes that she makes or whatever, ultimately life goes back around full circle where you don't have to weed everybody out. That's not my thing. They're gonna fall off how they supposed to.
Right. Right. Do you at what point did you get into your relationship with God? Did you start off young and go hard? Did you know some people got the story that they got saved 3 or 4 times before it became real?
Yeah. I can say my relationship was closer to God and I can't share the experience, but after I nearly lost someone, I'll say years ago, 10 years ago.
Okay.
I always loved God. Ooh. But he reminded me how much he loved me. I mean, I just gotta say it like that because I love that. Like, that's my daddy. I know I'm gonna pray to you, but it's just being able to say, you did not forget about me. And so in that essence, when I'm going through a time where I'm overthinking about something or just overwhelmed, he says, I want to remind you of the things in which I've done. And those little reminders like that is like, like
Those little reminders have you running and shouting and doing cartwheels. I'm telling you, because I, you just even mentioning that, I could just, I ain't gonna even go there because woo, I'll get up here and start doing jumping jacks because when I think of the goodness and all that he's done for me,
mhm,
it says my soul
mhm,
cries out. My
mhm,
okay.
mhm.
Ooh-wee.
I try to tell people, one of my friends at work is one of my closest friends, and she says, I always tell her when she's talking about her baby, I said, you prayed for that. And then she'll turn around to me when I'm frustrated at something at work, and she's like, and you prayed for that. And those little things, like things that I prayed for, and me and God had a conversation about that nobody else knew about it. He's manifested those things.
Uh-huh.
And to be able to look back and say, you've done exceedingly. Like, you've created new avenues for me that I never thought I would see. That's like when you asked me about being inclusive. It took me, and diversity, it took me a minute to go back and dig for those stories, because where I am now, I'm in a place that where people nourish me. I'm in a place where people advocate for me, meaning my friends, my colleagues, but sometimes it's not a place. I feel like I'm taking it on my own. That's how the devil wants you to do. He wants you to feel like, okay, you got this right here and you got to handle it all by yourself because your friends ain't there. They too busy. And you don't want to put this on your mama. You don't want to tell your son about this. He'll make you feel like you isolated.
Right.
And then God taps you on your shoulder. Now you can call her. She'll be there. And you can reach out to him because he'll give you information you need. And you know that you got wisdom in this because I've given you that.
That's yes, Lord.
Mhm.
Yes, Lord. So in your journey of losing weight, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure you helped hundreds of women.
Thousands.
I mean,
Thousands.
beyond the weight, right? Like you said, you got somebody in there who's a size 2 or a size 6. Don't mean that they still don't have the insecurity. So how does that feel when you see somebody going through the process
Yeah.
and you see them putting the work in and then they come up to you and it ain't even about the weight and they say you changed my life. How does
Uh,
that how does that make you feel on the inside?
you asked me about a cause. You know how some people have causes that they support, heart association, or pets and animals. And I love to encourage, motivate, inspire, and get to know amazing women. Women from all walks of life. My sister that's working and doing her cashier thing at the Bojangles, to my sister that is the CEO of the corporate foundation, or my executive coaches, or my COOs, or my mentors, or whomever it might be. I know that those women have something so powerful in them that the world needs to see, or even a person next to them needs to see. And they need to understand that because of them, I'm able to. And when
Mm,
I see those amazing women that come in my workout class, whether they are any sizes, any ages, whether I've worked with thousands, I've been featured, blessed. I'm blessed and thankful in Ebony magazine about my weight loss story, Black women losing weight about my weight loss story, MSNBC, different little things like that. But my followers on TikTok, my followers on Facebook, my followers, on Instagram, all those people, to be able to, for them to say, you inspire me, because I want them to see I'm a size 12. I'm 5'11", first of all. So I'm not like a size 12 that's like 5 feet. So I'm 5'11". I'm a size 12. I have things and insecurities and blemishes that I don't like, because I'm not going to have a surgery like to fix my arms and all that. Like I want y'all to see the raw. This is what y'all going to see. But I want you to see me get after it. And I want you to see, because when I first came on TikTok, I was nervous about, because one of my boys, his name is William Elston, and he does a great job on TikTok. He's an actor and all this. But he was saying to me, he was like, you need to start posting your workouts and all that. I did it locally on my Facebook because everybody knew me here and they knew my journey. But I was like, I don't know if I'm up for the ridicule. And I remember I was sitting home one day, because I love to dance. And I
Yes.
love to dance. I love to smile. I don't care if it's the best moves. I want people to see me having fun. And God says, you do not have to deny yourself and allow the world to deny you anymore.
Mm.
And so whether my arm is shaking on a TikTok, or whether my stomach is not perfect, I feel perfect from God. I feel perfect. Like if he took everything away from me today, if I left this earth today, he will say, well done. I'm hoping, because he's done so much. I've accomplished so much. And these women, like, they not only do I feel like I'm important in him, because when I'm teaching the class, I'm calling you by name. Come on, Crystal, you got this. Come on, Shanika. Come on, Robert. Come on, Lori. Come on, Karen. Like, I'm saying names. Come on, Danielle. I want people to know I see you in this moment, because maybe at work today you weren't even seen. Maybe at remote work today you didn't leave your house. Maybe your boyfriend, your husband, your significant other hadn't acknowledged you. But in this moment of an hour, I want you to know that I see you. And
Powerful.
not only do I pour into them, they pour into me.
It's amazing how that works, right? Like, you feel that you are pouring. It's like you're pouring, but the cup is also pouring back into you. So there's never a moment of being empty. I think we're wired the same way. My wife is not wired like that.
Uh-huh.
She has her moments where she could unplug completely.
Right.
But I'm cut from the same cloth you come from. Like, I can have 50 people plugged into me and be perfectly fine,
Yeah.
and be energized, and might have to sit over here for about 5 or 6 minutes. But
Right.
other than that, like, I recharge off of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And you have to start knowing you too, because yes, I have to recharge, but yes, I have to recharge. I have to unplug for a minute in order for them to get the best Donna. So when I'm around them in those spaces, like, I feel I'm in go time when I'm connected to other people. That's how I'm wired. If they're the right people,
Right.
right?
Right.
If they're the wrong people, like, I ain't one of the ones. If you calling me complaining and you sending me 3,000 videos of what didn't work out, eventually I'm gonna stop answering.
Right.
I'm not one of the ones who want to talk about what didn't work out and how I lived in the past. Man, my rearview mirror is tiny. My windshield is huge.
I love that analogy. I love that analogy. And the reality is, your rearview mirror is smaller than your windshield.
That
If
thing
you,
tiny. You gotta adjust it. You
yeah,
gotta
you got
work it out.
right.
That future is stable.
Yeah, I don't see too many people adjusting their windshield. I mean, their windshield at all.
Unless every now and then they get a crack in it.
Every now and then, but you're not taking it and moving it around so that you can see outside the window
No,
better.
no. Uh-uh.
So I have a question for you. I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you know. I kind of seen one of your videos. You're part of
Uh-oh.
an organization, right?
Yes.
you're part of an organization, and what organization would that be?
I am a soror, a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Chattanooga Alumni Chapter, I will say. So,
Shout
yeah,
out to DST. My wife's a Delta,
I got to
and
meet her. I'm hype.
I would, I can edit this out right here,
Yeah,
this part out.
we'll do it.
I'll cut this little piece out. But so surprisingly, the last four people that I interviewed
Uh-huh.
are all Deltas.
I got to go look.
Angel's a Delta.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I
Angel,
know. Now, I know Angel. Angel, my girl.
Angel.
Yeah.
Then uh, Jasmine.
Don't know Jazz.
Then I can't remember who I interviewed, but they're all like I'm like, man, Deltas. Dr. Tanisha Guy, she's a Delta. I
Uh-huh.
just interviewed. I like, yeah, yeah. I don't know what it is, other than my wife's been Delta, but
It's these big, bright personalities. That's who
it,
it
it,
is.
it's, it is fun. So, are you active in your organization?
I am active in my organization. I'm very proud. I just pledged actually recently in 2019. A lot of people don't know that. And one of the reasons why you heard me say it earlier, I was a single mama.
Right.
I wish I would have asked my mama, do you have first of all, do you have time to watch Brandon and do you have this money? Because I can't get it nowhere else. It wasn't happening then. And plus that wasn't on my radar, but now the sisterhood is like it's deep. I love it.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It would
Yeah,
be very difficult to be pledging as a new mom undergrad,
right.
because of there's a non-hazing organization, but I
Yeah,
mean, but you had a lot of reading and stuff that you would have to do at awkward
yeah,
times of the night,
yeah.
that you probably wouldn't have been able to do, because of
Whole bunch
mountain
of
dew.
reading, whole bunch of reading. That's what
A
we would
whole
do.
bunch of reading. That's
Whole bunch of
that's
reading.
it. So now you you
And
know
my
tra-
and my and my late sister that I lost, she was a Delta too. So that really made me want to say, okay, this is something I want to do.
so kind of continue like a almost like a legacy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Did your son pledge?
He did not. He did not.
Okay.
So, but we'll see. Hey, well, you never know. Mama came back around.
And he out doing his thing. So
Yeah.
so now you in your career, you're a staple in Chattanooga. You
Mhm.
are touching lives, you are doing big things. You wrote a book. So are you so you're currently on the radio
I'm on the radio part time.
part-time,
Yes.
and
Monday through Friday.
full
Yeah.
time you are.
Full time, I am the director of cultural tourism for our tourism company. So I do marketing for our tourism company, promoting our culture, heritage, and arts experiences. So whether it's our aquarium or our live music or our art or our cultural centers, artists, that's what I do. Recruiting festivals, that's what I do.
I really enjoyed Chattanooga when we came.
Yeah.
We came and I was like, I could probably move here. It was that nice where I was like, man, this is the scenery was good. My wife was like, we could get us a boat and we could go out on the water and all this other stuff. So I really like Chattanooga. Are you in a place, right? Like, are you speaking at the high schools, encouraging young women? Are you doing anything that could show these young people something different than what they're used to seeing?
Maurice, can I talk to you for a minute?
Talk to me. Come on.
Can you retch around for a minute and just so I want to say this, and a lot of people may or may not like this. I used to talk to high school students all of the time. That's what I was supposed to do. If someone invited me into this, today to come talk to a room full of high school students, I would gladly do so. But I'm not called to do that anymore.
Okay.
God has specifically asked me to work with the women. Women can be between 21 up to 61.
Okay.
Somebody had this conversation with me at one point in time. They were like, I think you should go talk to kids and I think you should do this and whatever. I said, it's time for me to pass the torch to somebody that's younger than me and that's relatable. If people need me to come speak, let me be clear, I'll be glad to. But when people see me now, I'm somebody's mama. I'm somebody cool auntie. When I was in radio, when I was the hip hop girl and I would roll into the high schools, people are like, oh my God, this is so cool. I still have something to offer. One-on-one mentoring high school students and college students, I will do that all day. I don't mind doing that. But there's a special dynamic for when you walk in a room with teenagers and high school students. Even though that I have a lot to offer, I'm mama. Some people did, some people might be like, well, she can go down to the school and speak. If God told you to do that, you show up down to the school. But he told me to go and to
And
speak
talk to
to
women.
1,000 women at a conference, or he wants me to go talk to 20 women at this accounting firm where they don't have camaraderie. He wants me to go travel and talk about health and fitness in Mississippi, or he wants, to women that are no longer focusing on their health. He wants me to talk about your mental and physical being. He wants me to talk about keep showing up as a wife and as a mother and as a woman. That's where God is using me. And so
And
just
you can't argue with that. Like, can
I
nobody? And youth is the being called to the youth is definitely a call. Everybody's not called to speaking to young people like that.
Well, let me say this. If I gave you a number of how many times I spoke to high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools, it would be thousands of times. I've done it.
It's a season,
Yeah,
right? Like,
I'm not in that season anymore. A lot of people may not like that. Oh, she should be. If people need me, I would do it. But I feel like I got to make room. Sometimes we wish somebody as a CEO, we wish somebody as another leader would make room for us.
for
It's time
sure.
for me to move out the way and the other younger DJs that are early 30s and 20s. It's time for them to hit some of those hip hop stages. Now if it's somebody like Ludacris or Yin Yang Twins or somebody like that, I'm out there. I know them. I relatable. Bootsy, that's me. Right? I come represent an artist that I don't even listen to or whatever. That's not, I can't even toss out people that I can relate to. Hey, by the way, I met Lil Jon. They'd be like, who is that?
Right.
I had a chance to meet Prince. He came in and Jamie Foxx, they'd be like, whose mama is that?
Right.
So I want to talk to the people I can relate to. I'm not saying that I'm dead and I'm too old, but I'm just saying I want to make room for other people to do that. I'm in a season where God has told me specifically who I need to hang out with.
And you've paved the way, and you opened the door. And the reality is, there are broken people, broken women that need to see what wholeness looks like. Excuse me.
Mhm,
And if nobody's talking to them,
mhm.
if nobody said anything to them, where are they getting it from?
I hear so many people, it kind of baffles me because we always want to jump into, hey, did you talk to this community? And I'm not talking about you specifically, but hey, who's talking to the youth? We got everybody investing, but that doesn't mean it's enough, right? But who's helping that mom that's the working poor, that's working hard and juggling? Who's talking to that mom who just went through a divorce? Who's talking to that mom that has a wonderful job but that's not getting paid enough? Who's talking to that woman who is just as smart as somebody that's sitting across her and she doesn't have anybody to advocate on her behalf? Who's connecting people and networking and assisting there? Like, to me,
Yes,
all of us need something. After COVID, when we were all alone, we need somebody.
absolutely. 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 I just throw that out there like I youth ain't for everybody. And you already did it. You've already walked that path. You've already
Yes.
seen it, and I'm sure. But here's the thing: you are actually impacting the youth, and you're just doing it indirectly because the women that you're talking to are moms and our teachers and our coaches, and they're going back to these spaces, and they're pouring into these young people from what you poured into them. So
I shared with you that I taught high school for 3 years. I did youth programming for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like that was my natural thing. I spoke at so many high school and elementary schools and graduations. Like I love, and let me say this, I love children. I love children so much, you know. But again, it's not, I don't have the same connection as when I want to go talk to women about how do we connect with each other? How do we grow? How do we soar? How do we deal with the mental things that we've dealt with, you know? And those are the spaces we're in. And being a teacher for 3 years and being an adjunct professor for years, I met with kids and I poured into them. And I had a student circle back around me and was like, Miss Donna, your media class gave me so much exposure. Now I'm an educator. It's his time. I
well,
ain't gotta have it all. It's his time to talk to you and help them.
that that's that's it is what it is.
Yes.
It is what it is. So we're gonna take a look at your so y'all gotta
Oh
let
Lord.
me say
I'm scared.
something about Miss Donna here. Like again, sh- from what I've seen in my research, we're not gonna call it social media stalking, we're gonna call it research. So
Okay, okay.
in my research, she is an amazing person. Her videos are fun. She's funny. She's dancing. She can bust a move now. Don't don't let her fool you now. She can cut a rug. But
Look, there
we're
you
gonna take a look
babe.
at
Me and you sound old. Bust a move and cut a rug. See, I shouldn't be around nobody's children.
right. We come from the generation where you got called in to perform for the guest. The show him that new Michael Jackson move. Show him the spin. Do a
And did
split.
it. And did it.
And we come from that generation where performance was a must if there was a house full of people. But
Yes,
hey, look, I want y'all to go check her out on her social media. Go follow her.
yes. Oh no.
This is her TikTok right
Yes,
here, Miss Donna Elle Media. Go follow her. Go check out her content. Be a part of her discussions. Be a part of her platform. Be in her community. Do her do her be a part of the stuff that she has going on. And if you need some encouragement, you'll definitely can go through her scroll through her timeline and see all the things that she does. That's her TikTok. I mean, that's her Instagram right there. Everything is the same. Donna Elle Media across the board. She is a phenomenal person. Oh, go get this right here. We smoking cookies
yes.
up in this joint. Come
Chips
on.
Ahoy,
We
Oreos.
we up in this book. Go. I know that there was only so much that she could say in this short period of time, and if you want to get more of the details and you want to see really engage in some more of her story, go buy this book right now. $8 on Amazon.
Yes.
Go ahead and do that. And she's also on Facebook. You can follow her on Facebook and stay connected to her community. This is one of the things that I can say. People may not know you directly. People may want to get close to you and be next to you and try to get in your space and sit at tables you're in and want you to mentor them and do all this other stuff. Guess what? If you be a part of her community, watch her videos, buy her books, do all the stuff that she got coming up, even if she got other books coming up, if you do those things, guess what? You are being mentored by her.
Yes.
So I am really encouraging you all to really tap into her community, tap into the things that she's doing. If you would happen to be in the Chattanooga area
Yes.
and you see her, give her a shout out and say what's up. So what do you got coming up? What you got on tap?
Oh
What are
my
you
God.
working on?
I can say I'm doing a lot of motivational speaking, so hire me no matter what city, because I do not mind traveling and just talking about the spirit of keep showing up and to motivate and encourage women. That is what I'm called to do. Also, men as well, just groups, but I really love motivating our folks out there, our ladies. And then I have a podcast that's coming out. So I'm teaming up with one of my homeboys. We're gonna have a good time. It's called oh my gosh, The Dope Doctor and the Diva. And so we'll be talking a little bit about relationships, and we're going to talk a lot about finances and health and fitness and youth and a whole bunch of different conversations. And it's just going to be fun banter. I'm not a big podcaster, which is so funny because, you guys got a special niche, right? I've been in radio, but it's a whole different game, and you guys got like something special about y'all. So I'm gonna learn from you, Maurice. I'm gonna learn from you.
Well, look, if you need me to pull up on your podcast,
Yes,
I could touch a couple of those areas. I've been around the block one or two times in a few of those areas, and I've been married
indeed.
21 years. So, if you want to talk about relationships, I got a little something to say about that.
Look, you
Uh,
might know way much more than both of us combined, so I can't wait to invite you.
so you let me know, and I am pulling up. And y'all support her podcast when it comes out. I'm pretty sure she's going to post it on all her social media platforms. I do have one last question for you though.
Oh gosh, okay.
What is something that you didn't pay attention to early on that you had to learn the hard way?
Ooh, people, people. Because of both of us said that we are people persons or people, however you want to say it, is that I have a heart for people. And sometimes my giving spirit is going to be natural without actually any discernment. I'm just jumping straight into let me be a giver. And sometimes being too much of a giver is controlling. Let me control this situation. Let me do this. And before you know it, you have given until your well has ran dry. And then you're upset because you had expectations about it being reciprocated. And for me, I will say the biggest thing that I've learned is to slow down. You
Mm,
take your time. You're worth receiving. You are worth receiving. And I hope I say that to you. You are worth receiving, because when you're such a giver, we don't know how to receive, because just because they're not doing it as big as we do it, the smaller things are just as important. And so just being able to slow down and receive the people, the moments, and stop rushing the process and dealing with the wrong people because you think they're going to get you where you need to be.
mm,
So yeah,
mm.
that's a hard lesson because I love people. Oh my gosh, I was so naive until my son was like, "I hate you had to learn the hard way, but I'm glad you learned, Mama." I was like, "Ew, it's people."
Out of the mouth of babes, the correction will
Yeah.
always come from that. Do you have anything else you want to say to the people?
I just want to remind people that not only am I asking you all to follow me, but I want to get to know you all, your experiences, your stories, the things that you enjoy, the things that you've overcome. Share those with me because it gives me fuel to keep going. Because the people with the biggest smile sometimes have the hardest heartache. And
Mm,
so, with that being said, just continue to show me who you are because I need that encouragement as well. And so, and just also remind people that I tell people we don't have to have a good life. We get a good life. We get to experience going to work. We get to talk to your wife. I get to go to a place to inspire people and exercise. I get to be on this podcast with Maurice. I get to. I didn't have to. I get to. And it's an honor, my brother. It's a privilege that you asked me. So thank you for seeing me. Means a
Well,
lot.
I'm glad you pulled up and hung out with me.
Yeah.
Hey, I love y'all like a play cousin. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.
I love your show. That's so cool.
Well, I appreciate it. Hey, since you've been
Yeah.
in media and you do this all the time, I am always trying to perfect what I do. How was the show for you? Give me
I
your
think you did.
feedback,
I think you
critique
did
it.
a great job. Great job with interviews. You need to brighten up your room now. So
Okay.
so get you some more light because your wall's so dark. So you want that's why I got a selfie light behind my camera because it's going, you know what I mean? Put more light behind that camera.
So what I just did though, because the wall was reflecting too much light, so I put the thing up and so this is my kind of my setup right here.
Yeah.
I got light there, I got light
Yeah.
there, but I hear you. I gotta get more lighting. And I
Put
was thinking about
put
putting some